Hello, beauties, lovelies, beautiful souls. I was watching a video by Feel Good, and I want to link that wherever I post this. I want to link that somewhere. But I was watching this video, and it really inspired me because it was hitting on all of these things. And I was already activated, and had a lot of memories come back, or just at least one memory come back. So I was already in this space of like receptivity and receiving. And so while watching this video, he was talking about how when we are mostly unconscious, right, or we're carrying a lot of trauma, we are susceptible to be being occupied by outside energies, outside frequencies, outside forces, or entities, if you will. We are susceptible to being occupied. And it really inspired me to make a post or do a video about why it's so important to do our internal work right now. Because there are, when we have darkness, right? When we have unconsciousness, basically, within our consciousness, we have those dark spots, right? That darkness that we have not yet realized, recognized, accepted, embraced about ourselves, or we haven't. We have a lot of trauma that we haven't processed, right? A lot of pain that we haven't processed. There is dark spots. There's dark spaces. Unconsciousness, basically. It's unconsciousness. That's all it is. It's just unconsciousness wanting to be made conscious. So I refer to them, it's just like, think of it, imagine it as like a dark spot in your house, like a basement or whatever, that you're afraid to go in, an attic, a cellar, that you're afraid to go in. But when you go into and you shine the light, you see all the things that are in there, right? You maybe see some spiders, some dust, some cobwebs, whatever. You see what's actually in there. But while we have these dark spots that we're afraid to go into, whether it's trauma or whether it's just unconsciousness, it leaves us susceptible to being occupied by something other than what is not us, something other than us. This is why claiming our energetic field, claiming our domain is important. There's so many things that go into here why it's important, but I wanted to get into why it's important to do our internal work, why it's important to face our shit, why it is important to do the work, to look at ourselves, to face ourselves, to look at our shit, right? And a lot of us don't want to do that because we're ashamed. We were told not to look in there. You'll be ashamed of who you are if you go looking in there, or you won't like who you find when you go into these are all fucking lies. These are all lies. These are all lies. Those are part of the programs that you're running unconsciously. What we find when we go into these spaces, yes, it's not pretty. It's usually very fucking messy. Not always. Sometimes it's pretty simple. It's like, oh, there's some realizations and things become very, very clear. Other times it's really fucking messy. It's really freaking uncomfortable. It's ugly. There's a lot of crying. You're just like, you're a mess. And a lot of people don't want to do that because they feel they're going to be ashamed, and they're not going to like who they find, or they're going to find that they're unlovable or whatever. And it's all bullshit. It's all part of the programs that we're running. And so when we go actually into these spaces, we start to create, when we go into these spaces with our light, right, with our consciousness, our light of consciousness, we begin to shine light on that which we've misunderstood, we've mislabeled, we've misaligned with, that's basically misrepresented themselves to us, or we see through all the bullshit, we see through the lies. And sometimes this isn't very easy. Sometimes it takes several different sessions or processes, several different times to process in order to make it to that, to that, to work out all of the confusion and all of the entanglements and bring it to clarity. So so it depends. It depends on the individual. It depends on the unconsciousness. It depends on the programming. Depends on how deep it is. But what's important to know is that when we are unconscious, when we are holding a lot of trauma that we don't want to, when we don't want to, or we're too afraid for whatever reason, maybe too afraid, we don't want to, we're afraid we're going to be unlovable or whatever. When we start going into these spaces, we start to create clarity. We begin to create understanding. Fear is actually just lack of understanding. When I first started my journey, I wanted to just create a bunch of understanding. I wanted to basically eradicate the fear, because fear was what was keeping me back. And as I have gained more understanding, that fear naturally just went away, right? It's just kind of falls off because you're facing all of that shit. So all of this stuff starts to fall off and it comes out of your energetic field. Therefore, it ceases to become a point of attraction for you, right? If you're believing that love is betrayal, rejection, abandonment, you're going to experience that as such. But if you start to begin to look into those programs and why you begin and understand why, understand the dynamics, understand, all of the situations and memories, and bring to light what was going on, turn on the light, you can't be occupied there because by outside forces, right, that don't want you to know that they're there. We can't be occupied in those cases. We can't be occupied by that. We can't be occupied when we understand, when we bring the light of our awareness, the light of our consciousness into the darkness. And that's why it's important to do our internal work during this time, because there are entities and energies that seek to manipulate, cause chaos, create destruction and distortion, and all kinds of different things. And if we are aware, if we've done the work, if we've processed these really dense emotions, if we've processed the pain, the unworthiness, if we've faced it, if we've sat with it, we can't be occupied in those spaces where we once had darkness. There can be no enemy within if you are your own best friend, if we are our own best friend, if we are taking the time to sit with this, sit with our wounds, sit with our resistance, sit with our ego, and see how it likes to navigate and manipulate, So may this find you, and may this resonate with those who, need to see this, and may it land where it needs to for you, so that you can really understand, but understand what's going on here. If this is a spiritual war, World War III is a spiritual war. We can be taken over. If we are not here, if we're not necessarily here, but if we're not all here, all of us, all of the parts, right? That means the parts that you've rejected, denied, disowned, that you were taught to reject, deny, and disown. And so if we are being with these parts, we're creating more awareness so that no other energy can occupy your space. You then start to command your own space. This is about, I was talking about World War III being a spiritual war. It is. We've been manipulated, and for eons. We're just becoming aware of it. We're becoming aware of it. And it's time to become more spiritually aware. Like, without the dogma, without the distortions and the lies that we've been fed, that were created in order to keep us in the dark, right? If we're in the dark, we can be manipulated. A lot of religions have left so much sacred text out because they want to keep us in the dark. They want to keep us occupied by other forces that, besides us. Because if we come into our full power, if we come into our full sovereignty and power, they're no match for us. We can cast them out. We can see through their bullshit, their lies, their fucking programs. That's why it's fucking important to do your and our internal work right now. Because it gives you discernment. Then you begin to discern energies. Then you begin to, maybe, this seems really cool. It seems really cool. It seems really, really cool. It seems too good to be true. But in my heart, oh my God, I'm feeling like there's something ain't right with this. And that's what we want to trust. Our discernment. And if we're not willing to go into the darkest fucking recesses of our own mind, we're still accepting darkness. And not that darkness is bad, but we're still accepting unconsciousness within ourselves on some level. I don't accept that. I don't accept that. I've been unconscious for many, many years of my life. I'm almost 40. Much of my of the traumas that I've experienced and the time, it's been 20 plus to 30 years plus. I'm done with that shit. So darkness, I don't see darkness as bad. I see it as my friend. I see it as something to understand and be with and embrace and have compassion for. Not to deny, reject, and cast out anymore. That's bringing light. That's bringing love. That's unconditionality. That's unconditional love. Bringing love and acceptance and embracing those parts that we feel are unlovable, or that we didn't deny, or that we hate about ourselves. That's what the programming wants. That programming wants us to be our own worst enemy, because then their jobs are easy. If we say, no, 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 I wish to be fully present and fully aware, fully present in my own energy, fully aware of my own energy, therefore aware of other energies that wanting to come in, then we begin to claim our own sovereignty, our own empowerment, our own upliftment. We begin to raise our own consciousness into higher levels of consciousness. It's so important to do our internal work, because we can't be occupied, we can't be manipulated, we have discernment, we're in our power. What more? What other answers? What could be more important? There are other things that I'm maybe not remembering in this moment. There are many, many other things. Why it's important. But if you want and if you want to live your dreams, create abundance from all this crazy chaos and lack, It can be done. You just have to step into your power. And stepping into your power begins by being courageous enough to face yourself, to face the shit that has been projected at you and that you've taken on as your own but was never yours to begin with. That's why it's important to release all the shit that's not yours. To become who you intended on being before you even incarnated into this life. To be that person, to act and embody as your higher self, your higher aspect, connected to source. You are meant to anchor heaven on earth through your heart, through you. And we can only do that if we are brave enough to face the darkness within the corners of our minds that have been created through societal norms, social conditioning, ancestral. It runs through our ancestral lineages. It runs in our bones and our blood. Through family, the programming, the beliefs that they I can't think of the word. I want to say bombarded. That's not the word, but they project it onto you. And you took it. It was not yours to take, but you took it because you felt like you had no other choice. That's why. If you want to reclaim yourself, that's why it's fucking important to do the internal work. In order to reclaim yourself, your empowerment, your sovereignty, your knowing that you came to create heaven on earth. You didn't come to fucking play by these rules. This is lack mentality. This is fear programming here. We came to anchor in a new frequency. That's why it's important to do your internal work. So that you can be you. So that you can occupy your space and be sovereign and command fully your space. So you can be fully present, fully aware, fully loving, fully compassionate, fully embracing of all that is. Even the darkness. Because here's the thing. As we begin to process our traumas or become more conscious in ourselves, we start to see all of the dark spaces that we were. That held our soul, not soul, but held pieces of us back. And so we begin to see and feel compassion for the darkness because we know how much it's hurting. When we start to process those wounds, we see how much that's hurting. And that creates, understanding. It creates harmony. It creates coherence. You begin to understand the darkness. You begin to understand its pain. Instead of judging it and casting it out like you normally would have, you begin to see that, oh, holy shit. Holy fucking shitballs. That was me. The darkness is hurting. That was me. That was me. And you can have compassion. You can have love. You can embrace it fully with your heart. That doesn't mean that this is something that's readily available. That this is something that I've had to come 3 years to really begin to think in this way and support myself in this way, because I had a lot of trauma, like a shit ton of trauma. So if I can do it, knowing all of the trauma that I took on and I experienced, and I'm still getting to the root of these issues, still barely getting to the root of these issues. If I can do all of that and bring myself out of, I was paralyzed. If I can bring myself out of paralysis, you can too. You can too. I reached out to the information that would help me, that it would activate me. And when I could do When I felt like I was hitting a wall, I reached out. I found a mentor. I found someone to help me process this bullshit, all of this darkness, all of this heaviness, all of the trauma. I reached out because I knew that place, I had to. I was either going to commit suicide or I was going to heal and commit to my life. That is why it's important. Because all of that heaviness you feel is not yours. All of that heaviness you feel is not yours. It's programming that was here, separation that was here from the beginning of time. It's not yours. You came here to be a fucking amazing being of light that is supported abundantly, fulfilled abundantly. As you are supported, you radiate and you give your gifts to the world. You give your medicine to the world. And in turn, you are supported abundantly. We came to create heaven on earth. We didn't come to fit ourselves, not even fit, stuff ourselves, stuff our humongous, ginormous spirit into this little itty bitty box, pay bills, and fucking die. And watch our dreams wither away. We did not come to do that. We came to stand in our fucking power. We came to be inspired. We came to be human, fully embracing every experience, embracing every diverse concept or diverse person, diverse energy. We came here to come together, not create more separation. That is why it is important to do the internal work. I could go on and on because they keep coming up. They just keep channeling it. They keep kind of just coming through this vessel, this channel. So, to recap, doing our internal work eliminates the blind spots within our consciousness that can be hijacked, that can be occupied by other beings that wish to create distortion, that wish to create chaos, that wish to create more separation, more segregation, more suffering, more pain, more depression, more sadness, more anger, more hate. We came to break out of all of that shit. That is why it's important to do your internal work. Reach out. If you have found that you're in a place like I was, reach out. Reach out to somebody. Anybody that you resonate with. I also offer shadow work that is fully supported by energy work. I also offer ancestral healing. That's also supported by energy work at the end to help you process and integrate. We can divest you of all of these things if you are ready, if you are willing. I don't work with people who aren't ready and willing to do the work. We got to be ready and willing because you have to be fucking brave enough to want to face this stuff. And I had already faced it my whole life. So I was in the point of, because I've had many bouts of depression. I've actually attempted suicide before. And so, I know what it's like to be in those really fucking dark places and be like, I don't give a fuck. 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 I know what it's like. I know what it's like. And I had to, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but I was willing and ready because I had already experienced 20 plus years, 30 plus years of all of this baggage just weighing on me to the point where I was paralyzed. So I was either going to commit to life or I was going to commit to death. I chose life. And it's been a very, very challenging journey trying to get through some of this stuff. But it's been worth it. It's been absolutely fucking worth it to me. To be able to see clearly or see clearer, and to not have all of this baggage, but maybe have some of it and be able to see it a lot clearer than I was able to before. I just knew before when I just felt it. It was just all like, I just need to like this. It was a big ball of just tangled mess, tangled energy, all enmeshed and entangled within one another. It's taken me the last 3 years to untangle all of this energy to be able to see clear. So reach out. It is possible. You can do it. If you are here and you're watching this, it's because you're meant to bring your light. You're meant to bring your freaking medicine. The world needs your medicine. So reach out to a mentor. Reach out to someone, anyone that you feel called to facilitate or hold space for you in these, so you can process your own stuff. May this serve in the highest and best way. Like I said, I also offer these types of services: shadow work, ancestral healing, channeled healing. If you are ready and willing, reach out to me, reach out to somebody, just reach out to somebody. It is important. We need you. We need your light. It is crucial now more than ever. We need your light. This is your call. This is your call to action. If you feel it, reach out. It doesn't matter if it's me or if it's somebody else that you resonate with. Just reach out. May this serve in the highest and best way. I love you. Blessings.